Hi, everybody.
Hello, I'm Ryan.
I'm Bethany.
And we are Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews.
And today we're going to talk about Robo Rally. This is designed by Richard Garfield and is published by Renegade Game Studios.
That's right. It was out of print for a while. Renegade brought it back better than ever. So basically, all these robots, they're working the factory floors late at night, working hard. But every once in a while, they got to let loose. They got to play some games. They got to do some recreation. So that's what we're doing. We are racing around the factory floor at night after hours, having some fun. This is a programming-style game where you never know what's going to happen. Let me show you how to play. There are a ton of different ways to set up Robo Rally. We're going to go with the starter course here. Basically tells us exactly what to lay out, what pieces on the board, and where to start our players. So we have our sideboard here where we're going to start off. We have a board, and we also have a goal over here. Each map that you have in the rulebook here is going to get increasingly more complicated, and you want to explore those once you're a little bit more familiar with just the base concepts of the game. You might even have more than one checkpoint. Over here we have a checkmark tracker. Basically what we're trying to do is it's a race to get through all the checkmarks. In this case, in the starting scenario, there's only one, so the first one to get there wins. But if there's like 4 or 5, every time you meet a checkpoint, you're going to move up that marker until you've met the objectives, and then you're going to win the game. Alright, so this particular version, we just have the one, it's a race to get there. We have just a few simple components on the board. We have a reboot option over here. If you ever fall off the board, you're going to restart from there. We also have some conveyor belts. The green ones are going to move you 1 spot each. The blue ones are going to move you 2 spots each. We also have a chance to gain some more energy on those little battery symbols over there. Energies we're going to track on this track, and that's going to allow us to buy some upgrades. Alright, at the start of each round, we're going to draw 9 cards from the deck. Let's go ahead and draw those 9. And they're going to say things like move around, go backwards, turn around, things like that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now what we're going to do is we're going to look at our hand, we're going to look at the board, and we're going to figure out where we want to go. This card, by the way, is going to give us some energy. It's an additional way to gain some of the money that we can use to buy those upgrades. We are the blue player over here, so if we go forward twice, it's going to put us onto that blue conveyor belt. It's going to move us around for us. So that sounds like a good idea. Let's go ahead and put that in our first slot. And then if you notice, it's going to move us twice. That'll put us over here. And then let's keep on going forward, actually. Let's see what that does for us. Maybe we should grab some energy. Sounds like a good idea. And let's move forward some more. And you know what? Let's do a U-turn, see what that does to us. And then, of course, we have some cards that might turn us left, might turn us right, things like that are still in the deck. The remaining 4 cards that we didn't use, so they're still in our hand. This is off to the side for now, and later on at the end of our turn, we are going to draw back up to 9 from our draw deck. So everyone simultaneously is going to reveal their first card and do whatever it says based off that priority order. So if we are the priority player, we're going to go first, and everyone else is going to go clockwise from there. And then that marker is going to move once the entire round is done and we've finished all of our cards. Alright, so we're moving forward twice. The other player, let's say they moved forward once. Alright, once all cards have been resolved, now we go to the board element activation. Basically going to follow this in order. So first we have our blue conveyor belts. Those are going to move. They're going to move twice in the direction that it says. So in this case, we're on the conveyor belt, so we're going to move it twice. If any players were on the green conveyor belts, those would move now. On some boards, you might also have some push panels that might push you around, some gears that might spin you around. We also have some lasers on the board that might shoot you. None of these are present on this current starting board, but then we're going to go to the robot weapons. Each robot has a laser built into their front, so kind of where their arrow's pointing. So if you are pointing at anybody at this phase of the game, your weapon's going to go off and you are going to cause them some damage. Then if you are sitting on a battery, you're going to be able to gain some energy. And of course, you're going to check for checkpoints to see if anybody has met the most recent checkpoint. So speaking of damage, we have a whole damage deck over here. But there are 2 main things that are inside that damage deck. There are spam cards and there are haywire cards. Spam cards, what they're going to do is they're going to go into your discard pile when you gain them. And then eventually, once you have to shuffle your discard pile back into your deck, you're going to have that kind of spam card in there. Now you can choose to play it on any one of your spots, face down like normal. But when you play it, what you have to do is you have to replace it with whatever the top card of the deck is, which might be a completely random thing, was not what you were expecting. So those are kind of some penalties, basically. And the haywire, what's going to happen was you gain that, you're basically going to place it face down under the card during the phase of which you earned it, or gained it. It's not really an earning, I suppose. But then you have to keep it there for the next round. And then when you're doing your programming, instead of putting out 5 cards, you're only going to put out 4 cards. That's going to stay there, face down, wherever it was. And then when it's time to flip it over, you do whatever it says. It might be all kinds of crazy things. This particular one says move 5. But if you hit a wall this register, take a damage. So you're going to keep on gaining damage with a card like that. So those are kind of the 2 ways that you might encounter damage. Damage can happen when you get hit by another player's laser. It can happen when you get hit by a laser from the board. It can also happen when you fall off the board. If due to some crazy movement or a conveyor belt or something else happening, and you fall off the board, you're going to restart at that little starting spot right there. If you fall off this board, the starting board over here, you're going to restart wherever your little token is over here. Let's say we reveal another card over here. This one says we move forward again. So now our arrow is still pointing this forward this way on our little guy here, so we're going to move forward twice. All right, and then we're going to go through once again our chart. And the first thing again is the blue conveyor belt. So now we're going to move backwards on that conveyor belt. You're basically going to keep on repeating the process until all 5 cards have been revealed. This one says gain a power-up. Seems like a good time to talk about the power-ups here and the different energy. We have our upgrade deck over here. We're going to start the game with 3 of those cards in our hands, but what you can do is you can pay to have them placed down. You can also pay energy to draw more cards. So you can pay 1 energy to draw a card from the deck and add it to your hand. There are 2 basic kinds of upgrades. There are these yellow ones which are permanent, and it's going to pay the cost up here. Once you do that, it's going to go to the top of your board here. It's called an installed upgrade. You hold up to 3 of those at a time. This particular one says, draw 1 additional programming card at the start of each programming phase. So instead of having a 9-card hand, you have a 10-card hand, which you have more to choose from, which is nice. You also have a temporary upgrades. This particular one is going to cost 2 to play. You're going to set it off to the side of your board, and then you can kind of choose when to use it. But once you use it, it goes away. It gets discarded for forever. This is a movement upgrade. You basically get 2 free movement, which is really nice. So you set that over to the side. Whenever you want to use it, you spend it, and then it's gone. You can have 3 permanent upgrades at a time, and you can have 3 temporary upgrades at a time. If you ever want to play a card and replace one, you can do that, but you have to discard one of your previously placed upgrades. Remember, after every player has played their card, what they call a register, each one of these kind of selections is called a register. Once all registers have been done, then the board takes its turn. The next register happens, the board takes its turn. Once all 5 registers have done, what's going to happen is you're going to discard all these cards, you need to draw 5 more cards, and you need to restart all over again. Again, in this case, there's only 1 checkpoint, but no matter what board you're on, the first player to complete all the checkpoints on that particular map is going to win the game.
I thought that this game was very intuitive. You have this beginner, session that you're playing before it introduces all these other concepts to you. But the thing is, even as it gets more and more challenging and there's more things going on, it just makes sense. Every single time something happened and we weren't sure, we thought this is what it meant and we'd reference it, that's what it was. Every single time. It just made a lot of sense. The flow was really understandable. It was just extremely intuitive game of an if this, then that. And it laid it out so clearly to where, eventually we didn't have to reference the rule book because it was so intuitive and it had that sheet, after when the board takes its turn, you take your turn, everybody takes their turn, and then the board takes its turn. And it just really made sense. It was great like that, especially as it becomes more complex, that it still is intuitive at the same time.
This plays from 2 to 6 players, which is a pretty wide player range. It all works. However, I will say they feel a little different. When you play a 2-player game, it is just kind of down-and-out race. You're just running as fast as you can.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people get shot. It goes really quick, and it's really snappy, which I enjoy. However, at the 5 and 6 player counts, when it's, there's a lot more chaos going on, it kind of takes a little longer, but you get to shoot each other a lot more often. You're pushing each other a lot more often. You're colliding, a lot more. So they both have their ways that they're interesting. They both work. It's just a different feel when you play with the higher player count versus the lower.
You can also kind of decide on the difficulty of the game. There are a lot of different maps you can play and a lot of different ways that you can put those objectives on the board. There's just a lot of different ways to mitigate how challenging that you want this game to be. And I love it when a game does that, especially when it's as easy as flipping to a different board where the board kind of does that for you instead of you having to go through a deck and put this many things in or that many things in. It just is as difficult as you want it to be or as easy as you want it to be. And also, I really, really liked those damage cards. So there's the spam and they just take up space, and then there's the haywire. Mm-hmm. Haywire. Those are so funny. I got a lot of these cards in a lot of the games because I'm just horrible at programming games. But it was so funny because I would try to remember what it was and weird things would happen, and sometimes it helped me, and then it's over with. And so I like that it's not this continual you fall off the board or you get damaged and now for the rest of the game you're just totally messed up. It's this one-time thing, something weird happens, and then you move on. And I really liked how that took place.
The programming in this game was is just so simple and clear. You have these different actions: move forward, move backwards, turn around, do whatever the case is. It's really funny, this might turn into things that you didn't anticipate, and that can be just an absolute riot, but at the same time, it can be frustrating too. Like if you're going forward, and then somebody bumps into you and sets you off your trajectory, even by just like one square, it might put you into a pit, or it might do all kinds of weird stuff. So the programming, this is, I don't know, just kind of like classic programming, I would say. This is what it's kind of, all the programming
Very
games,
clean.
every other
Clean.
programming game we've played has all just taken these concepts and done other things with them, and that just is just so clear, so clean, a lot of fun, very, very wild. I will say this game can take a little bit longer if you, especially if you're playing the higher player counts. And it feels very light. It feels very kind of silly and chaotic, which is a lot of fun. But at the same time, if you're playing a silly chaotic game for like 90 minutes, it can feel a little bit longer. But at the same time, if everybody's having fun, if everybody knows that going into it, that can kind of help make it not feel so frustrating. If everyone knows, hey, you're going to get pushed off the edge, the bad stuff's going to happen, don't worry about it, just have fun with it.
Yeah.
Set that expectation. I think people are going to have fun with this one then.
I totally understand how this game got a reprint. Like Ryan said, it's just like a classic, and I get that. I totally get that. Like he said, it can stay for a long time, but if you know that's what's happening, you almost feel like you're getting a much deeper, like really, really intense game because it's going for so long and all these things are happening and you're moving towards an objective, but it's like chaotic and silly. So it can, depending on who you're playing with, that can be enjoyable. But I get it. I totally get how this game was super popular. I've heard people talk about it ever since I've gotten into the hobby. I've always heard people talk about this game. So now I get to understand what they're talking about. Yay me.
One of my first experiences with this game was at Gen Con. They have this huge, like, oversized version of Robo Rally set up in one of the little, I don't know what you call it, atriums or something.
Yeah.
And with these big oversized like robots and these tiles that are 1 foot by 1 foot square, for each individual little spot on the board. And just seeing these people playing these games, or this game with all these big oversized pieces, and everyone's just so passionate about it. I was like, this is special. This is cool. So I think that this is, there's a reason it's stood the test of time, like Bethany mentioned. And this is a good time to check it out because there's been some really nice little kind of visual updates and kind of some streamlining that happened with this version. And I just say the variability that this game has, how many different boards you can modify and manipulate, and all the pre-setups they give you. You can even make your own too if you wanted to make your own racing path or whatever. You can do that. You have all the tools you need to do that. This is if you're looking for a programming game that does it all, check out Robo Rally.
Everybody, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so you can see our videos as they come out. Until then, you can find us in all of these places.
You guys, thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
You guys, thanks so much for watching. This game was provided to us by a publisher in exchange for a fair and honest review.
And if you want to see more stuff, check out over here to see something we think you might like.
And over here, we think that YouTube has picked out a great video for you you're going to love. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye.